Okay, let's make a small video on time travel. As it's very interesting because I started doing time travel research 2011 and studying actual events of time slips, such as this one. Woman's horror as time slip changes everything on English Street, and she's suddenly in the 1940s. In the blink of an eye, people walking down the street appeared to be wearing 1940s and 50s clothing, which something similar happened to me once because I was at a bus stop and I caught the bus, and then the next day I caught the bus and the scenery had changed. And Google actually confirms this because the trees would suddenly mature. Because I used to look at this building, I used to see the people on a morning looking out of the windows, and there were the trees weren't there. They weren't that mature. There were some trees there, but they weren't that mature. And the gate was totally different. So the next day I went to the bus stop as normal, looked over at the windows like I normally do to see the people. I couldn't see them. These mature trees had just sprung up overnight. And then I looked around and I saw the gate were different, and I thought they couldn't possibly have changed the gate overnight. So it was amazing. And so these time slips, they happen very suddenly, and they only last for 30 seconds to, maybe an hour, and then they disappear. And people have actually seen the time field, which is what it is, moving down the street, and the houses turning from 1940s houses, 1960s houses into 1990s houses before their very eyes. So what is going on? The fact is that the Earth is a time machine. Not only is the Earth a time machine, so is the Sun. In fact, the whole universe is a time machine, full of time fields. And so what we did was we looked into it deeper. We found some very interesting information in books that are written like by George Van Tassel and his integratron and his oscillating time field. But what I was interested in is, can we work out how big the field is, because it's supposed to be thousands of miles up in the magnetic field. So I tried my best to calculate it. Tried my best to calculate it if I could, but as usual, this thing's playing up. So so basically, is the Earth has a hidden time field inside the magnetic field. The time field is a V-shaped field, the width of a razor blade at ground level. Otherwise, people would you'd be going to a shop for a pint of milk, and you'd time travel back to 1940s and end up buying a 1940s pint of milk from a totally different company. But it's supposed to be 5 minutes of arc of the vertical plane to the edge of a V-shaped field. That's 5 minutes of arc in a vertical plane to the edge of the magnetic field. That's what them in that book, the vertical plane, the them beings were in 2109. The beings in 2109, they told the people who were experiencing it that they were in the vertical plane, and they didn't want them to do certain things because it might affect history. They were quite adamant about that. So if the Earth's magnetic field extends outwards 40,000 miles, you can do some math. The magnetosphere, if it extends to 45,000 miles divided by 360, gives us 111.111 for each degree. And then if you take that degree and divide it by 60 minutes of arc, you get 1.85, which is very close to 1.86, which is interesting. So the Earth's time field width is 5 minutes of arc, which is basically 1.85 times 5, which gives you 9.25, which means that the Earth's time field, oh God, what have I done? Extends is closed at ground level but open at a few thousand miles out into space. Yeah. I always get this stuff wrong. But what's interesting as well is that let's see if I can get it right. Yeah, I've got it right. What's interesting as well is I was looking, after studying the Montauk Time Machine circuit, I was looking in a book on electronics design, particularly metal detectors, and I noticed a very similar circuit. A two oscillator metal detector is very similar to the Montauk Time Machine circuit. Obviously some major modifications, but what it did was they both had two oscillators. This is the coil for picking up the metal, which is obsolete really for this circuit for the Montauk, but these go into mixers and then it goes into amp or several amps, and then the signal is blasted out via the delta T antenna, or four of them for the X, Y and Z. So the Montauk psychotronic headset feeding the X, Y and Z sides of the triple delta T antenna. But what really makes it very interesting is not, what really makes it powerful is the white noise generator containing all frequencies. And I believe that is the thing, because you're blasting through these antennas, through the image you've got in your mind is being fed into these mixers with the white noise generator, which contains all frequencies. And it's that gives it its power, because you're blasting out into the XYZ fields, the image mixed with the white noise generator containing all frequencies. And that's what the difference is between these two oscillator metal detectors and the Montauk Time Machine, which I thought is absolutely hilarious. And it's not that difficult to build a low power psychotronic device that blasts through antennas. And it's funny, but somebody's changed the timeline somewhere, because I remember that in 2013, a UK politician died and everybody were talking about it. And then 6 months later, they said on the BBC, oh, we're going to have a talk with this person. I says, I can't do, he's died. He died 6 months ago. I can clearly remember it. And it wasn't, he was alive. And because I watched it and I was absolutely gobsmacked. I was like, what? But anyway, the Earth is a time machine. The time slips prove it, and it is possible to build some kind of psychotronic device. Very interesting. No worries.